All right. Hello and welcome everyone to another edition of Blind Eye Live. This one will be a short one. I am super busy the next couple days. I'm going to do this. I'm going to jump right back on my drum set. I've got a bunch of stuff I'm working up for the weekend. Events I'm playing, stuff like that. So, we're going to just jump straight into it. We're not going to hit too many headlines today. I don't even know if I'm going to pull that up. We'll jump into the play-in, and then we'll get to my rant for the day, which is just mainstream sports media. I'm just tired of it. Anyway, as for the NBA play-in, the first 4 games have been played. The Los Angeles Lakers beat the Golden State Warriors in a barn burner of a close game. And as far as I'm concerned, it is a testament to how great Steph Curry and Draymond Green are, but mostly Steph Curry, that they were even in that game. I mean, if you're just looking at talent level alone, the Lakers should beat the brakes off of the Warriors. To me, it just proves that Steph Curry was, or is arguably the MVP of the season. I still lean Jokic, but Curry has been phenomenal. Of course, LeBron hits like a ridiculous 3-point shot that is, or, late in the game. Just a clutch shot. But it comes right after, he had one of the worst flops of his career last night. And as far as I'm concerned, stuff like that, you should just get ejected for. You're not trying to play basketball at that point. You're not trying to compete at that point. You're just trying to trick officials and be a slimy scumbag. I think that's ridiculous. But the Lakers won the game. They earned their way into the playoffs. So there's that. But honestly, kind of disappointed. I really wanted to see the Warriors win that game. In the other West play-in game, the Grizzlies beat the Spurs 100-96. It was an interesting game. Memphis came out really hot, jumped out to a 38-19 lead at the end of the first quarter. The Spurs then rallied back behind the strength of their bench unit. The Grizzlies bench got decimated in the second quarter. And the Spurs were able to... So, Memphis, 38-19, doubled the Spurs' points. Second quarter, the Spurs rallied, didn't tie the game or anything, but outscored the Grizzlies 30-18 in the second quarter. And then the third quarter was kind of a brick fest in comparison. Both teams scored 16 points apiece. The defense really kind of owned the third quarter, or at the very least, bad shooting owned the third quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, both teams, I guess, figured out how to shoot again, and we had a high-scoring third quarter. The Spurs outscored the Grizzlies 31-28, but considering they were down 7 points going into the quarter, outscoring by 3 is not enough. They lose. Jonas Valanciunas had a huge game for the Grizzlies. Man had 23 points, 23 rebounds of 10 of 16 shooting, 10 of 15 inside the arc. He was 3 of 6 from the free throw line, and he had 3 blocked shots. In, I think it was like 37, 38. It was like 38 minutes of action, something like that. It was 38 exactly. The bench players for the Grizzlies, for the most part, didn't play a whole lot in the game, except for Desmond Bane. Desmond Bane played 25 minutes. He had a plus net rating for the game. He wasn't, incredible, but he's just so good at... Well, he's been on fire shooting the ball this season, 43% from 3. I think he had a down shooting night. Yeah, he had a down 3-point shooting night, but I think he was 3 of 6 overall from the floor. And I think he had 6 rebounds, 2 on the offensive end. Picked up a couple assists. Played solid team defense. Moved the ball. Made good decisions. Desmond Bane was, I mean, when you're a rookie who was picked with the last pick of the first round, and you're getting, like, I think he played the 6th most minutes on the team. It was 5th or 6th most. Because he and Kyle Anderson, I think, both. No, it was definitely 6, because Kyle Anderson, I think, played 30 or 32 minutes. Jaren Jackson played 31 minutes. He wasn't, like, incredible, but I think he scored 10, 12 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and I think he was plus 17 while on the floor. So while maybe he wasn't doing a ton of the scoring or whatever, he was doing a very good job of being where he's supposed to be and being a threat off the ball. Because when he's in the lineup, he should be their second most dynamic player. Of course, Dillon Brooks led the team in shot attempts again, which I usually hate. But he hit 10 of them. He missed all 3 of his 3-point shots. But he hit, almost 50% of his shots. Played really good defense. I think he had 7 rebounds, 2 steals, a block. I think he was plus 20 something, I think, for the game. Or no, it wasn't plus 20, but he was plus for the game. Maybe it was plus 14. I think he played 37 minutes. John Moran, of course, led the team in minutes with I think he played 41. Yes, he played 41. He was great. Like, his stats aren't, like, insane. Like, his shooting numbers could have been better. He was 8 of 20 from the field. He was 2 for 5 from 3, which is nice. 40% for him from 3 for a game is really good. But he was like 2 of 6 from the free throw line. Like, that's awful. Especially for a point guard. Like, he really needs to work on his shooting. From basically every area. I love Morant. He's a joy. I'm glad he's like the face of the Grizzlies. But he's still got improvement to do. But 6 rebounds, 6 assists. I think he had a steal. Sorry, I'm doing this off the top of my head. He scored 20 points. It's really solid performance. Dillon Brooks had, like I said, I mean, not a huge fan of the guy, but I think he had like 22 or 24. I think it was 22 points. I think he was 2 or 3 from the free throw line. He had 22 points, played really good defense. That's one thing I like about Brooks is he plays hard. It just would be nice. Like, this is the big thing was Jaren Jackson, he only shot 6 times last night. And I know he's still coming back from injury, and maybe the Spurs were really hammering on keeping the ball out of his hands. I don't know. But he only shot the ball 6 times. I don't like that. We won, and that's the important thing. But, and our bench was really bad. And they didn't play a whole lot. Xavier Tillman played 10 minutes and was like -17. Tyus Jones was like I think it was like -16 in 7 minutes. You had, what's his name? No. Okay. I got that wrong. So it was 5 minutes for Grayson Allen. He was minus like 16 in 5 minutes. I think Tillman was minus 17 over 10. And then Jones played 7 or 9 minutes. It was like minus 22. It's incredible how bad the Grizzlies bench was last night. So, and this was the other shocker. Out of the guys who didn't play at all, Brandon Clark didn't play. It said coach's decision. I didn't check the injury report. But I was really shocked that Clark didn't play. I would imagine he must be hurt if they didn't play him. John Conchar also didn't get on the court. and he's had some really nice games lately. But the Grizzlies got the win, and they'll play the Warriors to see who ends up being the 8th seed, because they decided the way they were going to do this tournament is whoever won the 7-8 matchup got in. Whoever won the 9-10 matchup played whoever lost the 7-8 matchup for the 8th seed. So the Spurs are out. Warriors still have a chance. I'm going to say, of course, I got my picks for every game except for the Grizzlies-Spurs game wrong. So, me saying the Warriors are going to beat the Grizzlies probably means maybe I'm reverse jinxing the Grizzlies. I don't know. Anyway, I still think that the star power of Steph Curry is going to be enough for the Warriors to beat the Grizzlies, especially if our bench plays as bad as they did. I will say Keldon Johnson had another really good game. DeMar DeRozan was terrible shooting from the field in the game, but he got he got a bunch of free throws that kind of helped them out. DeJounte Murray was terrible shooting the ball last night. I think he was like, it was ridiculous. It was like 4 of 17. Like, goodness. DeRozan, I think, was 5 of 21. It's like they started Lonnie Walker, but he played, I think, like 12 minutes or 14 minutes. It was some really low number. I don't understand why you start him if you're just... I don't... It's like, I didn't check to see if he got hurt. And that's why, but it was just kind of weird how few minutes he played, considering he started. And then... I'm trying to remember. There was one guy on the team who was just straight up on fire last night. Well, I'll tell you, Jakob Poeltl had a really great game in the middle. He was like... See, I can't remember his stats off the top of my head, because I've looked at all these and I've memorized most of them. But anyway, real big game or a really nice game from Jakob Poeltl. It's going to be interesting to see what happens to him in restricted free agency this summer. With that being said, in the Eastern Conference, because I didn't predict the Western Conference games because I wasn't thinking about it Tuesday. But I did predict on the stream that I thought the Hornets would beat the Pacers if the Pacers were down as many people as it kind of looked like they could be. It turned out pretty much everyone who was like doubtful or probable or whatever, like everyone played who was not straight up out for the season, which is TJ Warren. And they started, well, and Miles Turner. Miles Turner didn't play, but they started O'Shea Brissett. And he had like a ridiculous game. Now you want to talk about a guy who was on fire. He was on fire. Scored 23 points, pulled in like 7 rebounds. To be honest, like I feel like I remember his name, but it's probably because I just remember off some transaction report or whatever. I don't know who the guy is. Had a huge game starting for the Pacers. Big part of why they destroyed Charlotte. Bismack Biyombo only played only played 3 minutes for the Hornets before leaving the game. Which their season is done. A lot of their players had a rough game, except like Miles Bridges. Miles Bridges was really good. Malik Monk actually played pretty freaking well off the bench. Might have could have used some more minutes from him because Lord knows Devontae Graham couldn't hit the broadside of a barn last night. And that was the case for a lot of their guys. It really didn't help that they didn't have Gordon Hayward. So, but the scoreline for that game, the Indiana Pacers won 144 to 117. I mean, a bunch of people on their team were just kind of going off. Or at the very least, like no one really was having a crappy night for Indiana. If they could play that well, if they could play that well, like and Domantas Sabonis didn't even score a whole bunch. I think he only scored like 10 points or whatever. But he had like 14 or 16 rebounds and then 9 assists. He was assist away from a triple double. Just a really incredible game for him. Actually, maybe I'm wrong. He might have scored more points than that. But he was an assist shy of a triple double. He had a solid game. Malcolm Brogdon, I think it was like 16 points, 8 assists. And then, like I said, O'Shea Brissett was great. Doug McDermott was firing. That was the starting lineup. Brogdon, Sabonis, McDermott, Brissett, and I'm blanking on the other starter. Oh, Justin Holiday. And Justin Holiday had a nice game. But yeah, basically everyone was on the injury report. Sabonis, who was day-to-day. Brogdon was listed as out, but probable. You had Edmund Sumner, who was listed as out, and I think probable. If it wasn't probable, there's like 2 different words that they use. And I can't remember what the other one is. Jeremy Lamb was on the injury report. He ended up playing. And so did Aaron Holiday. So, I mean, and TJ McConnell had a really nice game off the bench. So, the Pacers just dominated. That was a ridiculous game. And then the Celtics beat the Wizards. So, the Pacers move on to play the Wizards. Because they and the Hornets, that was the Hornets were 9, Indiana was 10, that matchup. And then you had the Celtics-Wizards, which was the 7-8 matchup. And neither team shot particularly well in this game. I think the Celtics as a team shot like 38, 39% from the field. But they were like decent from three, like they were like barely subpar from 3-point range. The Wizards shot like a little over 40% from the floor, but they went 3 of 21 from 3. No one could shoot. No one could hit the broadside of the barn. Bradley Beal definitely looked like he was dealing with a hammy issue. Russell Westbrook had a triple-double, but he was a net negative on the floor Tuesday night. He, of course, missed every three-pointer that he took. And he derived most of his points off of free throws. And while everyone would be like, he had like 3 blocks and 2 steals, it's like he was the best thing for the Wizards. Yeah, him being the best thing for the Wizards is why they lost. Like, he did put up a really good effort. Like, you look at 3 blocks, 2 steals, man, that's pretty crazy. Or maybe it was 2 blocks and 3 steals. Let's just say he had 5 stocks. Like, Jason Tatum's is like a pretty good defensive player. He had like 2 steals and a block. Kemba Walker in this game had, I think it was 2 steals and a block shot. Everyone sees Kemba Walker as a negative, like a minus defender. So don't just look at the stat line and think like Westbrook had this incredible, amazing game. He had a really good game, and he's been playing the best basketball he's played in years of late. But if he's the best player on the court for you, I'm sorry, it's like, that's not good for your team. And obviously, he's not the best player on this team. It's Bradley Beal. But Beal kind of had a rough game himself. He was pretty decent inside the arc, but he just couldn't find his three-point stroke. He grabbed like 7 rebounds, though, in the game. He scored over 20 points. But outside of those two, it was kind of a rough night for a lot of people. Daniel Gafford and Robin Lopez at center were, pretty good. Honestly, I'm kind of shocked Lopez didn't get more minutes than he did, because he actually had some really nice minutes during the game. Rui Hachimura was playing really well. Oh, no. Wait. No, I think I'm wrong. I think I'm confusing him with someone else. See, I should have pulled this stuff up, but whatever. But anyway, the Wizards, the scoreline at the end of the game makes it look closer than it was. It was like an 8-point game at the end. And this was a wild game because I think the Wizards came out of the first half with the lead. But then the Celtics just owned the second half. And their bench was just, okay, I remember who had like the crazy good game for the Wizards now. It was Ish Smith, their bench point guard. Ish Smith had a heck of a game. Probably one of the best games of his career last night. Which helped the Wizards immensely, but the Celtics they were a little too much for him. Robert Williams started. He played they definitely limited his minutes, but he was solid when he was on the court. Tristan Thompson had a really nice game off the bench at center for them. But Jason Tatum was incredible, and that's what everyone's going to remember from this game, was how freaking awesome Jason Tatum was. And his shooting numbers weren't incredible, but they were, better than Beal and Westbrook. He just kept getting the line. He went 17 of 17 from the free throw line. Had a decent shooting night. Played really good defense. He had I think he had 4 assists. He had 5 rebounds, 2 steals and a block. But he scored 50 points. Yeah, I think it was 50. 50 points. I mean, and like I said, he had a nice shooting night. I think he was 3 of 6 from 3. Something like that. Just ridiculous production from him. And he won that game for the Celtics. A number of Celtics played pretty well. But Marcus Smart wasn't shooting super well. Evan Fournier was kind of meh. Tatum and Kemba didn't have an amazing shooting night in terms of his percentages. He had a lot of volume, but he was a threat, running off screens, and I don't think he had a bunch of assists. I almost want to say he only had 1 assist, but like I said, he had 2 steals and a block, which is super nice for him defensively. Grabbed a few more rebounds than you would have expected. So the Celtics are moving on. They're going to play the Nets in the first round. The Lakers are going to be playing the Suns. And everyone's talking the Lakers are a terrible the Lakers are just an awful matchup for the Suns. The Suns are, the Suns are really, really good. We'll see. But it really depends on how healthy and how healthy and how dialed in Anthony Davis and LeBron are, I guess, is basically it. And maybe a few other members of their supporting cast, but I don't know. I'm still gonna pick this. I'm gonna go and pick the Suns in this series. It's gonna be funny because I'm not going to be shocked when, or I'd need to. I'd wonder what the betting odds are right now, but I'd be shocked if the Suns weren't the underdog in this series the way the media is talking about it, even though they're the 2 seed. Which, but getting back to the East, so Celtics advance. The Wizards are going to play the Pacers, and the Pacers had been kind of flat down the stretch, while the Wizards have been kind of blazing. But I'm going to be completely honest. If Indiana plays against the Wizards like they did against the Hornets, I'm picking the Pacers to beat the Wizards. So I'm going to say right now that the Warriors and the Pacers end up winning these last 2 play-in games and being your 8 seeds. So that'll be interesting. If I'm going out on a limb right now to say who's going to advance to the finals, though, that's going to be hard. I think the Heat have the talent on hand and the coaching to make it. I don't believe in the Celtics. They haven't been consistent enough. Without Jaylen Brown, I don't think they have a shot. This is going to be an interesting offseason for the Celtics. I don't think, like I said, I don't think the Celtics, don't think either the Pacers or the Wizards have a chance in the play or in their first round series against the Sixers. Celtics don't. I just don't think the Celtics stand a chance against the Nets. The Heat beat the Bucks last year. I don't know if it's going to happen this year. Jimmy Butler's been playing great. Bam Adebayo's surged in the second half of the season. But I actually think this Bucks team is better designed for the playoffs than in years past. Bobby Portis has been insane for them. Shooting the ball ridiculously well from 3. So he gives them better big man depth and flexibility than they've had in years. And Drew Holiday's been awesome. So we'll see. The Heat definitely stand a chance, but I would pick the Bucks there. Whoever wins the Knicks-Hawks series doesn't matter. They're gonna lose the Sixers. Just flat out. Neither of those teams have the talent. They just don't. At least as far as I'm concerned. Should I say, the Hawks' talent isn't fully developed yet. Depending on how guys continue to develop, the Hawks can get better, but they're not there this year. The Knicks definitely aren't there this year. And if I were to, so for me, I would say it's going to be down to the top 3 seeds, or really the top 2 seeds and whoever comes out of the Heat Bucks series, which I think is the Bucks. But if I were to pick a team, I'm picking the Nets. If they can get everybody healthy, that's the big caveat. But they've been managing these guys specifically so that they're, good to go for the postseason. And I think the Nets role players have been so good as well. And because of all the rotating and different lineups that they've had to run, more guys have gotten more minutes than you would have if everyone was healthy. I think the Nets are probably better prepared, and their bench players are better prepared for the playoffs than some other teams. So I'm going to pick the Nets out of the East. The West is really hard, but mostly because who knows with the Lakers. Because on paper, everyone's like, well, these guys are the championship favorites. They got better over the offseason, which I didn't necessarily totally agree with that. Was Schroeder like an upgrade over Rondo? Potentially. Although he's been hurt, and I think he's still out right now. Or at the very least, he's working his way back. And playoff Rondo is a thing, so. But was he an upgrade over, like, say, Danny Green? Perhaps, but Danny Green's been awesome for the Sixers this year. Arguably, Danny Green's been playing better this year than he did last year for the Lakers, so maybe that's a wash. If I'm being honest, I'd rather have JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard, or Dwight Howard over Montrezl Harrell for defensive purposes. I like the addition of Marc Gasol. But I don't know if like they really got better at center like a lot of people said they did. Now, Talen Horton-Tucker's emergence has definitely been a big boon for the team. That's for sure. Kuzma's been playing probably better this year. But I don't know. The Lakers are still... I think the Lakers-Suns series will probably be ultra competitive. Nuggets-Blazers is going to be super interesting. Because... Yeah. Well, wait. Wait a second. No. I'm trying to remember. Yeah. So the Nuggets are the 4 seed. Blazers are the 5 seed. That'll be a fun series. I think the Nuggets still win that series, even without Jamal Murray, because of how great Jokic has been this year and how great Michael Porter Jr. has been, particularly since the Murray injury. And if they have... And depending on, the health status of like Monty Morris and Will Barton, that'll also help them. Although Facundo Campazzo has been really good as well since the Murray and Morris injuries filling in. So I'm just going to go with which team I think. I just think the Nuggets... I think the Nuggets are the better team still. And then you've got Mavs Clippers. So this was a first-round series last year. The Mavs actually gave the Clippers some problems, but, the Clippers won that series. I can't remember if it was in 6 games. It was in 5 or 6 games. I want to say it was 6 games. But I think this Mavs team on paper is better than last year's team. The Clippers, and this Clippers team, like shooting-wise, they're the best three-point shooting team in the league. And they have 2 elite-level wing defenders when they're really locked in who could just wipe out your best perimeter options for stretches. But I don't know if I trust them yet. I don't know if I trust them in the postseason. Paul George has had stretches of the regular season where he's been... I really dove into his numbers after talking about the All-NBA teams. I think George is a very definite, deserving All-NBA selection. He's had stretches this season where he's just been ridiculous. But because he's considered the number 2 guy on his team, I think a lot of people don't even, aren't even really paying attention to it. Because I obviously wasn't. But we'll see if he shows up in the playoffs. And the same with Kawhi. And the problem is, the Clippers, while they're a really good three-point shooting team and they can be a buzzsaw on offense, in the playoffs, Kawhi and PG love to just kind of run ISOs, and I wonder how good that's going to be. That can be great when your offense, like when you get late in the clock and your offense hasn't produced anything. But if that's just your possession, I don't love that. If they can stay within the framework of the offense a little bit more than say they did last year, I think the Clippers have a chance. And Luke Kennard's really come on of late, so that's also helped them a lot. I'm gonna say that they're gonna beat the Mavs. As much as I'm gonna be rooting for the Mavs, and then the Jazz will beat whoever ends up getting the 8th seed. And I think people are really. It's kind of funny. It's like everyone's undersell. I think people are underselling the Jazz and the Suns. I get like the arguments of like they don't have like because for the Suns like they're dumb. Like Chris Paul is arguably their best player, or he's definitely kind of like the leading. Like he's the alpha of the team. Although Booker, yes, he's like the scoring alpha. Um, Paul is probably the most important player on this team. And this guy, I can't remember. Has he even gotten to a conference? I don't even think he's gotten to the conference finals. I know he's never gotten past the conference finals if he's even gotten there. So people are questioning that. But I like their roster. The Jazz, Donovan Mitchell is really freaking good. And he's made huge strides as a playmaker and decision maker this season. And he's shooting lights out. Gobert is, to be honest, I feel like this year's version of Gobert is the best all-around version of Gobert we've ever seen. And they have a ton of great role players around them. Mike Conley has been really stinking good. Joe Ingles and Jordan Clarkson are probably both going to finish top 3 in Sixth Man of the Year voting. At least for me, they're like the top 2 guys, or at least 2 of the top 3. And then Derek Favors is there. Bojan Bogdanovic, he had a little bit of a slow start to the season coming back from wrist surgery, but he's been back to being Bojan. Or Bojan. Is it Bojan or Bojan? Bojan. I think it's Bojan. So yeah. I'm going to say the West is really tricky. If I'm just going by who I think truly overall has the best, like most talented roster, I would go with the Clippers. I'm kind of down once again to like the top 3 seeds again. Cuz I'm not picking the Lakers. You know what? I'm going to go Nets Jazz. I know the Jazz have had some kind of or have not done well in the playoffs. But I just have a different feeling, a different vibe about this team. They have way more shot creation between or on this team than they've had in the past. Like last year, Bojan was out with that or because of that broken wrist. They've got him this year. Mike Conley is way more comfortable in Utah this year. Donovan Mitchell has stepped up. Gobert, once again, like I said, like particularly on offense, I feel like he's more impactful offensively, and he's still arguably the most impactful defensive player in the league on a possession by possession basis. Because he allows your perimeter players to stay home on their guys. So, yeah, I just have to kind of lean towards. I'm going with the Jazz. And then of course, like, I forgot, Clarkson has given them a dynamo scorer off the bench, who also closed games a lot. Had a 41-point game. During in closing out the season, I think it was like 5 straight 20-point games, and one of them was a 41-point barrage. I think that was against the Warriors. So when you have that kind of microwave scorer off the bench, and you have so many consistent guys, like Mitchell's going to get his, and he steps up in the playoffs. Conley is just a really solid veteran presence. He's a steady player, and he's looking way more like the Grizzlies' Conley. And that guy is basically a guarantee for high teens in points, great ball distribution, and solid perimeter, and above average perimeter defense, particularly from the point guard position. And then Bojan can go off. Ingles is a red hot shooter. Like, you have to keep your eyes on him, and he's one of the best pick and roll. He's arguably the best pick and roll player on the team. Like, in terms of picking up passes, maybe not better than Conley, but he's kind of on that level. He's second on the team in assists per 36 minutes. And he plays great defense. He's arguably their best perimeter defender, or that's probably Royce O'Neal, but whatever. And then I didn't even mention Royce O'Neal and his defense. And then Derek Favors gives them an awesome, backup center. He gives you starter minutes as a backup. That's awesome. So I'm going with the Jazz. I'm going Jazz Nets, and I'm going to pick the Nets. Woo. I know. It's like star power. But, I mean, they have star power and great role player depth. And I'd probably pick them if they didn't add Aldridge and Griffin. Because Nick Claxton's been really good for them. Bruce Brown has been my favorite weird player of the season. Joe Harris is, once again, one of the probably 10 best shooters in the league, period. And he can run some tertiary pick and roll. Landry Shamet's been really nice for them this season. And I'm forgetting one other player. Can't remember. For some reason I think Taurean Prince is still there, but I might be wrong. Can't remember. But anyway, that's my playoffs prediction. Nets over Jazz in the finals. So, with that being said, I'm going to get into my rant, and then I'm going to end today's show, because I need to get back to work. So Tim Tebow officially signed his contract with the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's a camp invite contract. This thing's not guaranteed, or at least I'm sure most of it isn't guaranteed, if any of it is. Or should I say, very little of the contract is guaranteed, if any of it is. That probably grammar's better. I don't get why the media is so worked up over Tim Tebow getting this opportunity. I get, you hear all these other people, and there are some players running their mouths about it too. There are all these guys who are working hard, who and they're not getting opportunity. Tebow's been gone, never played tight end, I don't really care. I think it's a fun story. I know I talked about this a little while back, but to me, this should be a fun story. Like, it's a camp intrigue kind of thing. He's going to be 34 by the start of the season. This probably is just an excuse for Meyer to have Tebow and his energy and his personality around the team, which, for as much as the media want to drag, and this is my big issue, I'm hearing all these people talk about, why would you bring him in? Why would you bring the circus? There is no circus with Tebow if the media weren't a bunch of hounding losers who made his life a circus. The media hates Tim Tebow. The vast majority of them hate him for whatever reason, mostly because of the Christianity thing. And that's the truth. They hate him because he's a Christian. They hate him because he's a really great guy who treats people really well, and they've never been able to find a chink in his armor to tear him down for. That's why they're mad. That's why they act like that. They're sour. They're upset that this guy can be so nice and good to people, do so many good things in the world. Like, people are trashing this guy. This guy goes around and encourages people to be the best version of themselves they possibly can. He encourages people to work hard and chase after, meaning in their lives, like the things that give their life meaning. Now, he does that from a Christian context, which that's what bothers a lot of these people. And I just don't understand why this vitriol still exists. Like, and you could say, well, he's stealing someone's opportunity. How is he stealing someone else's opportunity? Like, I don't get that. You could say, well, there are all these young players who they're veteran tight ends on the market who don't have jobs right now. It's like, yeah, and Urban Meyer decided he wanted to give a player who he has had immense success with in the past an opportunity to make the team because he thinks he might be able to improve the team. And it's not like he's guaranteed a spot on the roster. Like, Tebow's going to have to earn it. I just think it's insane. Like, Mel Kiper went on a screed on ESPN about it. And he brought up the media circus. And I'm like, there's no media circus without you people. Well, he didn't say media. He just says circus. The circus comes from the media. The media constantly talk about him, constantly trying to bring him down. There's no circus without you guys. So if you don't care about Tebow, if you think Tebow is this meaningless, don't cover him. Don't cover him. There are just a bunch of people that wanted him to fail. Which Kiper, and this is the thing, because he talks about this during this, as I would call it, a screed. He talked with Tim Tebow, during the, his draft process, and was like, hey, you should consider, like, becoming an H-back tight end. And Tebow's like, no, I'm a quarterback. And Kiper can prance around all he wants, and other people can prance around all he wants about him not working out as a quarterback. Whatever. I think to some degree it was because I don't think he was given really a fair shake. I would say, look, you can look at the stats to a degree. Who knows if he would have developed? He wasn't given a chance to develop. No one put the time in. But if you look at his win-loss record as a starter, there are a lot of players who have started way more games than him and have gotten way more opportunities at quarterback who did not win as many games. And yes, it's a team sport. But the quarterback has a disproportionate effect on those games. So, at the very least, the guy could run your team. But Kiper's like, it would have been one thing if he had done this, years ago. but now he's coming back at 30. He's going to be 34 by the time the season starts. You know, to Kuiper, it's a wasted camp body. I disagree. If you're talking from a winning perspective, a personality perspective, what he can bring to your locker room, I actually think that's huge. And here's the thing. Maybe he doesn't make the team. Okay, that's fine. The other guy who got that invite probably wasn't going to make it either. I mean, let's just be real. 90 guys go into training camp on the roster. So, like, you're looking at 4 out of 9 players getting cut. Or, what is it? Like, 53-man roster. I almost feel like they expanded it to 55 last year. But, at the very least, you've either got... You've got 35 to 37 guys getting cut. So, people saying you're wasting a camp invite, sure, but that's still like, you're not really, because all of like the non-guaranteed contract guys you're signing to camp contracts, they're flyers. They're just, you're throwing a dart at the wall. At least this dart you're throwing at the wall has a Heisman Trophy, 2 national championships, some starting quarterback experience, and won an NFL playoff game as a starting quarterback on a clutch overtime throw. Where he had the best game of his life, that, like, passing the ball that game. And he's a great physical player. Like, to be honest, this guy could end up being a short yardage utility weapon. If he shows that he does have some hands, this guy could be a huge threat in the red zone, kind of like a Taysom Hill. So I think it's incredible, just the amount of just vitriol from people, particularly the media. Because I'm looking at comments and stuff, and for the most part, like on videos talking about, like on Pat McAfee's show, I just see a bunch of people who are mostly like positive about it. I think most fans think it's fine. I think most fans think it's cool. Because a lot of us wanted to see him convert to a different position and continue his NFL career. But this guy's been around football in the media, at least the college game, since leaving the NFL. He's been keeping in shape because he's been playing professional baseball. And yes, I know there are a lot of major league players who are like sluggers and stuff that don't look like they're in like incredible shape or whatever. Tebow looks great. He hasn't been getting battered and bruised, and at the tight end position, guys play into their late 30s a lot. So there'd be nothing unprecedented necessarily about Tebow at this age becoming an effective, like, or being an effective tight end. So, I don't know. We'll see. And he's not had like a ton of major injuries either in his career. So, like, I would say his body's probably in better shape than most guys his age because of that. But we'll see. I'm just tired of like people talking about a circus when it's like, you're the circus. Tebow's not the circus. The circus is the media who will not leave him alone. You want to criticize a team for making a decision to bring a circus to town. They're not bringing the circus to town. You're criticizing them for giving you something to talk about? It's incredible. Like, the hypocrisy from the media on it. Because, like, no one had a problem when Jason Witten, who had retired, went to Monday Night Football for a year and then came out of retirement. And that's not like a total apples to apples thing. But, and then there's the other there's this other group of people, because there is a group of fans, and I haven't necessarily heard it from the media as much, although I'm not watching tons of like mainstream sports media or listening to like everything people are saying, but there is this contingent of people on social media who are like, of course Tebow can just walk back in the league, but Kaepernick can't get a shot. Didn't offer to switch positions. Kaepernick was given the chance to come back in the NFL as a backup and earn, and potentially earn a starting spot, whatever, as a quarterback. And he's turned down multiple opportunities because, well, he's a starting quarterback or whatever, or because he was asking for ridiculous money. He was asking for starter QB money. That's not apples to apples. That's an apples to oranges situation as well. And Kaepernick's been out so long, he ain't coming back. Like, if he really wanted to be playing football, he'd be on a team. He would have been on a team years ago. He didn't want to be. That's why he's not, and that's why he's not on a team. Tebow was given this opportunity, and he jumped at it. And no one should fault him for that. No one should hate on him for that. I think it's stupid. Just straight up stupid. So, anyway, with that being said, that's my show for today. I hope y'all have a great weekend. I may or may not stream tomorrow because I've got a lot going on this weekend, and I've got a lot of music to work on. Honestly, I was thinking I might not stream today even. So, thank y'all for tuning in. Appreciate it. If you liked it, drop a like. Want more, subscribe, bell, the drill. And please leave comments. I read those. So, like I said, hope y'all have a great rest of your evening and weekend if I'm not here tomorrow.